BYU VCU is a game that everyone should be excited about. The six seed for the Cougars, a team that was rumored to be on the 8 line just a couple weeks ago, has jumped up. That theoretically should be a great thing for their NCAA tournament chances, but the committee gifted them a team that does some things that could frustrate a BYU team. This is one of the more popular upset picks that I've been hearing in our private college basketball world circles. VCU as an 11 seed comes in as the A10 champs. They won the regular season. They won the conference tournament. They were clearly the best team in that league. And as always with VCU, really chaotic, physical defense is something that will be at the top of the scouting report. This is the number one effective field goal percentage defense in college basketball, number four 2 point percentage defense in the sport, top 30 in block and steal rate. Nobody really does anything offensively against BYU successfully on a consistent basis. And man, they're a pest to play. You got to be ready for a 40-minute battle against a very, very scrappy physical basketball team. In a lot of ways, Cart, that has been the thing that causes BYU issues this year.
hmm
Houston has capitalized on that twice. So I'm not more on this from me later. VCU is not Houston, but if you were worried that what Houston did to BYU could be something VCU replicates, it makes sense in theory. What's your scout for this game?
I think this is where I'm coming from. Not to jump ahead of ourselves here, but there is a lot of things that VCU does that, like you said, pinpoint weak points for BYU. But also on the same token, if you are going to bring that up, I would also like to make note that VCU's defense is not Houston. VCU's defense is not Iowa State. Respectfully, VCU's defense is good, but there might be some better defenses in the Big 12 that do things that VCU does, is where I'm coming from in this one. But um, speaking to that more specifically, these are two teams that, when you do the whole like sort since a certain time thing, they're a lot better than maybe you think on KenPom. Like I sorted this since the beginning of the year, and BYU is the 18th best team in the country, while VCU is the 25th best team. I would just for S's and G's here, I'm going to do since February 1st and see kind of where these two teams kind of filter out here. But BYU is the 13th best team and VCU is the 18th best team. So both two teams that I think have been playing extremely well at the turn of the new year. I've obviously been singing the praises of BYU and what they have done. They have really found themselves. Guys have really found their roles. From Keba Keita being this monster down low to Demon taking a step back, and Richie Saunders being one of the best players in the Big 12. Coach Young pulling all the right strings. It's been a really fun team to watch. But I don't think you can ignore what VCU's done in the A10 as well. They have the Player of the Year, Max Shulga. He's a guy that can really just do him offense if you need to. Joe Bamisile is still playing college basketball. They got a pretty elite shot blocker on their team as well. So there's a lot of endearing qualities about VCU. I would say that, you could make the argument that it makes it a tough matchup for BYU, and I think you'd be in the right to say so.
It is a team, VCU, that is fun to watch play because they always feel like they're playing supremely hard. I love teams that play like that. Houston is the same way. Iowa State is the same way. Just a team that like will win effort plays repeatedly and kind of frustrate you by almost wanting it more than you.
No,
Now I
not the
have
want,
questions
not the
on
wanting it more metric.
right. You know that's my favorite metric. I have questions on VCU offensively a bit. Because personnel wise, Shulga can get hot, go nuclear from three. Phil Russell's really good. Jack Clark's had a good season. Zeb Jackson was a Michigan transfer back in the day. He comes off the bench now. Bama Seal, another guy that played at a bigger level before VCU. All good players. Their offense is not great. Their offense is just fine. And the one thing the VCU offense does well is rebound. They rebound their misses 37% of the time. That's 12th nationally. I don't think that's going to fly against BYU. BYU's great on the boards and bigger than VCU is. So, like, if we're saying like the VCU pressure is a horrible matchup for a BYU team that doesn't have the greatest point guard situation here, I think you also need to acknowledge that like playing a great rebounding team is a pretty awful matchup for VCU because I don't really know how they score if they're not generating a bunch of second chances.
Yeah, and I think one of the main terms for this BYU team, like I pointed out, is that Keba Keita is like prime Dwight Howard on the Magic on the boards now with what he does. He is so physical down there, controlling the paint, such a physical presence. And they have like many physical presence as well. Like I feel like Keba Keita is kind of taking a step forward, but they're still able to bring Foose off the bench, who's a presence as well. And they just are able to control and be physical down low. And VCU to me, and you could push back on this, they are a team that I think tries to physically punk people, and they can do that, I think, to certain teams. I think people want to think it can be done to BYU because of maybe what they saw earlier in the year and like maybe what they look like against Houston, who is Houston, by the way. But this is not like a pushover type team in BYU. They are physical in their own right, and they are tough in their own right. Don't let the turnover things with Yegor Demon and other guys fool you. This is a BYU team that I would actually constitute as tough.
Yeah. Yes, they are. I think look no further than their sweep of Iowa State at this. Like you want to go through the profile. VCU, a great defense. Iowa State, better than VCU at defense. VCU, a great turnover forcing team. Iowa State, a better turnover forcing team. Like I feel like anyone saying BYU can't handle this is ignoring the fact that they've handled it twice in the last 2 weeks. And the same people that are skeptical of BYU against this VCU team, I think were skeptical of this BYU team against Iowa State. All we heard was, well, they're finally healthy. Okay, we got 100 for you. Like, Houston is uniquely different. That team is just so physically dominant. It's on another plane than anybody else in this sport. There is no comparison between what Houston does and what Iowa State or VCU do. BYU's been fine against every non-Houston team in terms of handling physicality and handling pressure. And to me, you got to make sure you don't have a Yegor stinker. The more that Dallin Hall's involved in this game, the scared-der I get
Yeah.
because I just don't I like he is a guy I don't think will be able to handle the VCU pressure.
Yeah, but
But
but to your credit, I feel like Coach Young's kind of pivoted from that, and like Trey Stewart's gotten some more minutes. Like he has been able to like pull the reins back if Yegor's killing them, or if like other guys are killing him. And I think that's credit to what he's doing this year.
And Richie Saunders will. Richie Saunders is not going to be put off his game by a pressure defense that is over aggressive. He's going to get to the line a bunch. Like,
Right.
as long as you don't have a Yegor stinker, I think this is a perfectly fine matchup for BYU. Last thing I want to put a bold prediction on before we do our game predictions. Boscovich is 100% going to have a psycho moment in this game.
Yeah. Can I add on to that bold prediction?
Yeah.
BCU is gonna 100% underestimate BYU.
Ah,
They are going to think they can punk them,
yeah.
but it's not. It ain't that no more.
Yeah.
Not.
I like that. I like that a lot. All right,
Yeah.
two predictions. Ken Palm has BYU as a 1 point favorite over VCU. What are you taking?
I'm taking BYU, and I love that number too, by the way. If I can get BYU, pick them. If that's what it's going to be. I don't know if that's what it's going to be, but yeah, I love BYU in that spot. I think BYU has been playing like one of the better teams in the country. I don't think they're going to be put off by VCU's physicalness. And we talked about in the Michigan UC San Diego game, them being able to overcome Michigan being able to overcome turnovers. Also saw BYU turn the ball over like 30 times at Ames and still beat Iowa State on the road. They can even overcome that themselves. But I also think they're not going to be put off by VCU's pressure. They have seen the best defensive pressure in the country in their own conference twice this year, or four times, given Houston. So, like, yeah, I'm gonna take BYU to win this, and I'll say by like 7 to 10 points.
I like BYU by 25. This is a statement game. And if you thought for 1 second I was doing anything different in a BYU hoodie that I just got gifted to me from the last time I picked BYU to handle comfortably a turnover forcing team, you'd be wrong. Okay. I think this is a blowout. I'm not afraid of VCU. Respectfully, they've had a great season. You haven't had a BYU season. Let's put the world on notice. Stand up, Provo. It's time. And we'll have a recap up of it once it's done. Thanks for watching.